Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 69. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing sales and the art of persuasion, how to actually start influencing people in your industry, in the company that you work for, and ultimately the world in whatever area that you want to start being more persuasive. Now, the best form of persuasion is silent and indirect. If I built an organization that's done 8 figures in sales over the last few years, and I've came across and worked with hundreds of different salespeople. So I've really good insight on what makes someone great at persuasion, what makes someone fantastic at sales, and what makes someone bad at it. And the biggest thing that you notice is, in my opinion, there's 3 levels of influence and persuasion. Number 1, the person that you're trying to persuade thinks that you're bad at persuasion or bad at sales. The second version is they know that you're good. And the third and the highest level is they don't even know that you're trying to persuade them. Persuasion at the highest form is so indirect and smooth and relaxed that the other party doesn't even know that it's happening to them. Think about the way that people are persuaded and influenced when it comes to someone that they're dating, or them working at a company, or them selling a client on a massive project or a massive deal. Do people like to be convinced and pushed to do something? No. But how do people respond when they just bought something that they've really wanted? Think about a Mercedes or a Rolex. Does Mercedes have to convince you that Mercedes is one of the best brands that are in the market today? Does Rolex need to convince you that it's a great watch and that it's worth spending $10,000 or $20,000 on just one watch? They don't. Why? Because the setup is there. So when you're learning persuasion, it's first important to really look at what is the mindset needed just individually, and then you can expand this onto a brand or an organization or in your marketing outreach. But if you understand first these mindsets, it can help you set the stage to start actually learning how to be persuasive, okay? Now, here's 3 mindsets that you need to adapt. Number 1 is certainty. If you aren't certain that you, your product, your service, the company you work for is not great, then it's going to be very difficult for you to persuade it to others. So when someone's listening, and this is why your tonality and the confidence and the aura that you present with yourself is so important when it comes to sales, is because they don't need to believe in the product necessarily. They need to believe you believe in the product or the service that you're actually selling and persuading them on. You need to believe in the vision, because if you're stuttering, you're hesitant, you're not sure, they're going to feel that same energy. And when you Google and you search the actual definition of a sell, it's actually a transfer of energy. It's a transfer of an emotion and a feeling that one person had. Let's say one person had an excitement or an enthusiasm about some specific restaurant or experience or product or service, and they tell someone else about it. That energy transfers. Now that next person has that same energy. They're excited, they're sold, and they're persuaded on whatever was being conveyed. And so we have to first speak with absolute certainty. Now, that doesn't mean you're loud and you're in their face, but it means that you have a quiet, direct confidence without hesitation that what you're talking about is undoubtedly the best decision to make. The second is not being attached to the outcome. Early on, especially when a sales rep's starting for the first time, or they're early on trying to get promoted, or they're just trying to actually make income, close deals, all that good stuff, they could say everything perfectly. They could dress sharp. They could have the pitch down to a T. They could have so much confidence. But if they come across needy, if they come across as they have to get this specific outcome or they're not going to make enough money for rent, they can just feel it. Humans are so susceptible to change that they can quickly pick up on neediness. Maybe not even consciously, but subconsciously. So you have to be so relaxed, and you have to know that, if they don't sign up, who cares? There's going to be a million other people. If you're dating someone and they just don't like you, there's a million other people out there. Who cares? If someone in your friend group is disrespecting you, doesn't support you, isn't a good person, you don't need to convince them on why you're a good person. Just walk. Stop investing your time into people, companies, and businesses that don't believe in you. It's that simple. But if you're so attached to the outcome, not only are they going to feel that energy and disrespect you and waste your time and not add any value of your life, and they don't think you're adding any value either, so it's a waste of time for everybody, then you will continue to get disrespected and you'll continue to waste your energy, which is the most valuable resource, on people, businesses, environments, and things that just don't actually serve you, that have no benefit to your life. Okay? So when you aren't attached to that situation, people are going to respect you, and it's going to be much easier to actually persuade them. Okay, now 3 is credibility. And we're going to dive into this a little bit further. But people need to view you as a credible person or a credible business or a credible service. It's hard to beat perception. And perception is reality, but realize that every single person that you meet, you talk to, and that you come across is going to have a unique perception that is different from yours. We've all had different experiences, backgrounds, information, and even just if you look at it as, let's say you had the best day ever and someone tells you something, you may be more inclined to listen to them. If you had a rough day at work and then someone's trying to convince you something, it's probably going to be a little bit different. The way that you come across and the credibility that you have is going to set the stage for how people are going to treat you. Make sure you do this carefully. Okay? Now, to actually become great at persuasion, and just before you even start, before I break down the steps on how to properly persuade people, the first key to elevating your abilities without improving your sales skills, without improving the way that you speak, is the setup. The way that you are viewed to the outside world is teaching them how to act and how to treat you. If you are dressing bad, if you don't have good body language, if you don't carry yourself with confidence, people likely aren't going to treat you with a lot of respect. They're not going to really want to give you any time of day. They're not going to want to hear you out. So you want to set that stage for someone that is credible. Let me give you a couple examples. Let's say that you had 2 meetings, right? Meeting A and meeting B. Let's say meeting A, you reached out to them and you asked for the meeting. You show up 5 minutes late. Your t-shirt's all wrinkled or your dress shirt's all wrinkled. You don't look professional. You walk in there. The second you walk in, you start complimenting everything, telling them how great they are, all this different stuff, which is showing weakness. You walk in there, you're stumbling, you're fumbling, you don't really know what you're doing. All of a sudden, do they want to sit there and actually hear you out? You could have the best product or service ever. But if you're coming across like that, they're not going to really give you the time of day. Now, let's go to the second one. Let's say you have the second meeting, and instead, one of your clients that you've been doing business with for the last year that's so happy and loves to work with you and thinks so highly of you, and let's say that they're one of the most well-known and successful people or businesses in that specific area. Let's say they give a warm introduction and tell this other person or this other company, hey, you really need to talk to this person. Not only we've used their service the last year, it has completely changed our business. You need to get with them ASAP. And they go, oh, wow. Can you connect us? The guy goes, sure. They put you in an email. They coordinate everything. You show up. You have another admin there that's sharp as a tack. You show up. You're dressed to the nine. You got a suit. You're prepared. You walk in. You smile. They say, hey, can I get you some water? You'd be like, oh, that'd be great. Thanks so much. They come out. They go, Grant, how have you been? I was like, man, it's amazing, man. It's great to meet you. They go, oh, John told us so much about you. Said that you guys have just completely changed their business. You go, yeah, it's been really great for them. We love working with them. They go, man, that's amazing. And then you keep going. All of a sudden, whatever you say, you don't even need to become a good salesperson. You don't even need to convince them of anything. You just need to be cool, not say anything dumb, and just lay out what your product and service is and facilitate the transaction. Why? Because the setup was there. So if you want to elevate in life, you need to spend more time focusing on the setup than just trying to be perfect at sales. I'm going to teach you guys how to persuade and how to say things the right way. But if you do all of that the right way, but you don't set up your business, your marketing, your branding, the company you work for, your resume, how you present yourself, how you communicate in a perfect light or at a level higher than what you currently are, your life is not going to likely get any easier or better. You're likely not going to perform at any higher level. So you have to spend just as much, if not more, on creating that setup so you can have the credibility that you need to actually elevate, or it's going to be very difficult and you're going to have an upward hill. You got to focus on the setup. This is interesting, right? There's a couple different social tests and experiments that people have done in the past, and I'm going to give you an example, and I'm also going to give you something to test just to prove this to you, right? I want you to back test all of these things. So I saw this video on YouTube, and they went into a mall and they were doing a social test, and they were videoing the whole thing. You can probably find it on YouTube or Google it. But they took a really cheap department store where shoes are 20 to 50 bucks. They're always on sale. It's for very, low income, middle class people. And what they did is they took those exact same shoes that were $50, $20, $40, and they marked them up to $500 to $700 a shoe. They took clothes that was super cheap and inexpensive that you would get on clearance somewhere and hiked the prices times 10. They fixed and adjusted the actual setup of the store so it looked high end, and they actually had cameramen in there. And what they would do is every time a customer came in, they said, "Hey, this is actually the store's grand opening. Can you just look around and then in a couple minutes, just give us a quick review of what you think?" And you would see these ladies and people walk in and they'd pull out the shoes and they say, "Ma'am, what do you think about this shoe?" And the shoe was actually only 40, 50 bucks, but it was on sale for $650. And she'd sit there and would go, "Man, this shoe is incredible. You could just tell the quality is amazing and I love the design." They're like, "Yeah, you're going to buy it?" "Absolutely. I'm going to get 2 pairs. All of a sudden, people are spending thousands of dollars on products and services that should be a tenth of the price. Nothing changed. The salespeople there didn't change. The only thing that changed was the setup, the price, and the way that the products were perceived. We can do this instantaneously in our life, many times with not any money, but just a little preparation on the way that we're presenting ourselves to the world. Many times we can go, "Well, Grant, I don't care what people think about you." And you know what? They don't care either. If you look really bad and you don't take care of yourself, you don't dress nice. Now, nice doesn't mean a tuxedo. It means presentable, clean cut, and sharp. That's fine, but people are going to treat you as you are. And many times people go, "Well, Grant, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, those guys, they wore basic stuff." Like I said, I'm not telling you to wear a tuxedo, but they're also Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. That's a part of their brand. So dressing nice doesn't mean you can't wear black pants and a black tee and a nice watch. It doesn't mean that you don't take care of yourself, comb your hair, have good skin, be fit, be athletic. But it means presenting yourself in a way that matches your brand and it comes across actually the right way to the person that's actually viewing you. Whether that's a normal person, whether that's on your marketing and social media, or it's a potential customer. How is the world perceiving you? Okay. Try this also. I want you to find one of the nicest couple restaurants in whatever city that you live in. And the first time I want you to show up, wear something very basic. Maybe show up in an Uber that's a normal Uber that's not as nice, or maybe a car that's not as nice, and show up, walk in there, start kissing their ass, be overly nice, do all these different things, and see how they treat you. See how the service is. The next time, take an Uber Black, show up in a suit or one of your nicest pieces of clothing. Maybe show up with a date or friends, and I want you guys to be dressed to the nine. Be a little bit subtle, be a little bit more reserved, and watch how people start treating you. Watch how the service improves. Watch how they'll send out the manager to come say hello to you. Heck, they might even send out the chef to say hello. Just being a little bit more reserved and dressing and presenting yourself like a person that does that all the time and is used to high quality service, humans can accept change and they can notice the difference between you and someone that's just trying to, it's the first time they've ever been to this nice restaurant. Watch how differently they treat you. And we can sit here all day long and talk about how that's unfair and how you should just be yourself. And I'm not telling you that you need to suddenly be some different version of yourself. But in the same sense, if we want to elevate in life, we can't be mad that the game is not the way that we want it to be. We have to recognize that this is just how the world is. And think clearly about what you want to portray to the world and what you want to create. And you need to adapt and adjust to actually create that game and play that hand in that game that's going to set yourself up for the most success. Okay. Now, I want to go through now the 4 steps on how to actually persuade someone. Let's assume that we've done the setup the right way. Let's assume that we've done all the back end work to show ourselves as credible and have absolute certainty, and we're dressed sharp and we're prepared and the image is where it needs to be. Now let's persuade them. Now this 4-step process that I've used helped me go from a 35% closing percentage to more than a 70% closing percentage for over 2 years. And these are the same things that all of our inside sales reps use in my businesses that help them close unbelievable amounts of deals all across the United States. Helped us in 8 figures in sales. Okay. Number 1, break preoccupation. Okay. You have to blend in. People buy from what they know and what they trust. They don't always buy the best product, but they always buy what they know, what they're familiar with, and what they trust. The biggest mistake that people make when they walk into a deal, they walk into a meeting, is they're too in that person's face. For example, we're in outside sales, specifically residential solar, and a mistake that I'll see sales reps do when they go to someone's house, they go to someone's business, is the first thing that they do when they show up is they just sit there and start complimenting all about the house, the business, the way they're dressed, where they went. And what happens is it causes people to recognize that they're trying to get something out of them. What do they want? What is their motive? So they'll show up and they go, "Oh my God, I love your lawn. I love your house. It's such a beautiful house." They're like, "Oh, I love your outfit. I love your jacket." And in normal thinking, if you compliment people nonstop, it's supposed to make them like you more, right? But oddly, it would create the opposite result. Think about it. What is this person thinking about? They know that someone is coming to their business or to their home or to wherever they're at to sell them something. So if the first thing and the first interaction that they have is them complimenting them nonstop, it actually creates the opposite result, and it makes them think that they're trying to get something from them. It shows like, "Hey, yo, he's just trying to sell us. No wonder he's trying to do it." It comes off as inauthentic. A good way to view this is, how do you act when you're going to your best friend's house that you go to once or twice a week? What about your uncle or your cousin that you just go over to their house and you just have drinks and maybe have dinner? I'm not saying that you're rude to them, but you just show up and you're like, "Hey, what's up, man? How's your week going?" "Oh, it's good." You're more relaxed. And what happens when you're more relaxed and you blend into your environment more, especially at the beginning, it drops their guard and you actually get to work with and communicate the authentic and real version of that person. People wear masks. They're going to show and perceive themselves to the world on the way that they want to. So let me give an example. If you show up and you're super nice, you're kissing their ass, and you're overcompensating because you want them to like you so you can get the deal, they're not going to tell you and reveal all the cards. When you ask them what got them interested, they're going to say things like, "We're just looking. We're not trying to do anything right now. I just want to hear some more information." Nobody knows what the hell that means. They're not answering the question because they don't trust you. They don't even know if they want to do it, but they may be thinking this, and they may need this price. They may not doing this. There's all this information that you could be learning, but you can't learn it because you're coming across as too needy. Instead, don't be attached to it. Show up and be so relaxed. Like an example, if I'm doing outside sales and it's in a home, I'm gonna show up and be like, "Hey, what's up, guys? I'm just here for the 5 o'clock appointment." Like, "Oh, hey Grant, how you doing?" Like, "I'm good, man. Is the kitchen table cool?" Like, "Yeah, it's good." And it's like, "Mike, you said you had a wife, right?" "Okay, cool. Why don't you grab her real quick? I'll just set up over here." He goes, "Okay, cool." They come back. I go, "Hey, like, how long have you guys lived in Dallas for?" "Oh, like 5, 6 years." Like, really nice. What brought you guys out here? Where are you guys from originally? Oh, we're from Austin. Oh, nice. What made you guys move? Do you see how calm and relaxed I am? Now, when I ask them what got them interested, when I dive deeper in, when they have an objection, when they don't understand something, they're not going to hide their cards and not want to tell me because they don't trust me. They're just going to be blunt. Even if it's something I don't want to hear, at least I know what they're thinking. If I know what their problems are and if I know where they're at, I can actually help them. I can actually persuade them and push them to a direction that's going to be more beneficial to them, to their business, to their family. So you want to blend in. The key is not to act authentic, not to lie, not to act a certain way, but instead match their tonality, listen more than you talk, and be interested instead of interesting. Stop trying to prove yourself to them. Let them prove themselves to you. And be an avid listener. People are so interesting if you give them a chance to talk. And when you do that, they're going to open up, they're going to feel comfortable with you, and you can get the authentic version. Okay, that's step 1. 2, discovery. Okay, we've broken the preoccupation and we've gotten the authentic version of themselves. Now, when you're doing discovery to figure out what got them interested, what you're trying to persuade and influence, what their problems are, the key is to play dumb. The mistake I see when people are in discovery, this doesn't matter if they're in medical sales, they're in real estate, they're in outside sales, they're in tech sales, they sell over the phone, whatever it is, doesn't matter, is the second they're in discovery, when the person starts listing their problems, they immediately start selling. Okay, number 1 rule of discovery, do not sell. Do not sell in discovery. When you say, hey, so like what got you guys interested in switching technology? What got you guys interested in looking at a different house? I know you guys have been living at that house for, 10 years. Hey, what made you guys, want to look into solar? I want you to ask it in a very curious and confused tone. Maybe drop your tonality a little bit. Say like, what got you guys interested? That quiet, more relaxed tone creates trust. Little confusion, little curiosity. They're going to start opening up. Okay, let's just say the real estate example. What made you guys want to look into another house? I know you guys have lived out in Houston and you said you guys were living there for 10 years. What made you guys want to look something else? They're going to start saying it. Well, we just seen what's happened with home prices. We got a ton of equity and, we just had our 3rd kid. And it's going to get a little tight. Obviously, they're young now, but we kind of want something that's a little bigger. So when the kids get older, it's just going to be a little bit better fit. Okay. Instead, the average sales rep goes, oh, that's great. Well, we got these 2 homes. It has this, has this, has this, has this. It's going to be fantastic. You guys are going to love it. That's what every sales rep, real estate agent, and anybody that's trying to persuade does. Instead, do this. Got you. Okay, that makes sense. And tell me, what would that home look like for you? How many bedrooms do you guys think that you would need? Just listen. Let them talk. Let them talk. Let them talk. And what are some things that are like non-negotiables for you guys that if the house had all those bedrooms, but it also had this, that would turn you guys off and make you not want to do it? Got you. And what is y'all's price range? What do you guys think that's reasonable and affordable? You see what I'm doing here? So never sell. I want to play dumb, almost act like you know nothing about real estate. You know nothing about what you're selling. You know nothing about solar, nothing about tech, nothing about this. And you're just listening. You're just like, yeah, why? Like you're just confused and you just want to get the very simplistic 5th grade questions out of the way. The reason why this is important is they're just going to spill the beans. They're going to tell you everything that you need to know. And that's when you finally have the information that you need to be able to actually help them. Okay. 3rd, credibility. Okay. You've got everything up to this point. Now establish yourself as credibility. Now it's important to do this like they already know. Remember, they already like you. You've already presented and setted yourself up in the deal, in the meeting, in the marketing, in the branding, and whatever in the right light. Now, you need to set it up in a way that it puts the stamp of approval on, okay, this person looks like this, and I know I got their recommendation, but they're the real deal. Okay. Now, your tonality needs to be so subtle and relaxed that it doesn't come across like you're trying to convince them. I'm not trying to sell them on my credibility. I'm letting them know it. So, let me an example. Like, I'll give you mine for solar. I'd say, guys, so to just give you a quick background, I've been in the solar industry for 5 years. I've been a part of over $50 million in transactions, managed and overseen thousands and thousands of projects in over 15 states. So when it comes to solar, there's literally not a question, problem, or situation that I haven't seen. As far as our install network, we have the largest in the country. And that specific installation network has done almost 200,000 projects across the United States. So if you guys have seen an install, maybe like in your area, it's a good chance it was done by us or one of our partners. See how I did that? It was complete certain. I didn't stutter one bit, but I spoke to you guys as listening, as this isn't like a question. This isn't something you got to Google. It's just what it is. It's like, yeah, guys, we're Apple. We're the largest company in the world. Like, of course. That's kind of how you're coming across. It's obvious. Okay? Now, 4, and arguably the most important to really solidify it, to actually persuade and close at a higher level, is pre-framing. Okay? Many times, the result that we want doesn't happen, not because of a lack of talent or execution, but because the expectation was not agreed upon. So all you do is, after you've done those first 3 sets, and this is before you actually pitch them the product, service, try to convince them of whatever you're trying to do, all you need to do is pre-frame the outcome that you want. Okay, so this is a good example of this, is I would say something along the lines of, so perfect, guys, everything that you're saying makes sense, and obviously I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but assuming this happens, and this happens, we'll go ahead and move forward and get you set up today. But if we look at it and it doesn't make sense and we don't get those items, it's no big deal. We'll know after today and we just won't have to worry about it. Is that fine with you guys? Yes. Okay. Whatever that is, plug and play that statement with the different variables for what you guys actually do. Now, let's think about this. The setup was there and they view you as a credible person even before you showed up. You made them like you and realize, you know what? This person's more like me than I thought. I like this guy. I like this girl. She's cool. You've broken their preoccupations, so now you have the authentic version of themselves. 3, you know exactly what they want and what their problems are. They view you as a highly credible person, and they just told you that if you can get things that you can control, if you can get those things, that they're signing up today, this week, this quarter, or whatever the parameters that you set, and you haven't even pitched your product and service. That is how you become a master persuader. Everything is in the setup, but if you do those 4 steps, plus the other work that we talked about there, not only will your closing percentage go through the roof, not only will you close more deals and your business can grow dramatically, but you will change your life in the way that you do business forever. So I hope you guys enjoyed that podcast. As always, you guys can find me on all my social media channels at Grant Mitt. Guys, I also am hosting sales workshops and business workshops 2 times a month now. And for all that information, you guys can go to my Instagram at Grant Mitt or any of my social media channels, hit the link in my bio, and you guys can get set up. They're typically 90-minute trainings. We break down all of these things in even greater detail, as well as Q&A, so we can actually implement that into your business, your operations, so you can become more successful. So other than that, hope you guys have an incredible week. We have so many exciting guests and things coming on the podcast. And as always, I hope to see you guys again for episode 70. Thanks, guys.